20 questions to ask before you hire any professional. And it's much more than credentials. You may trust an attorney with your legal rights, a financial advisor with your life savings, a CPA with your taxes, and an insurance professional with your family's financial protection. But how much do you really know about the people on your professional team? A license tells you that someone is permitted to do the work, but it doesn't necessarily tell you whether that person is experienced in your situation, how they are paid, whether they will communicate with your other advisors, or whether they'll still be there when you actually need them. And some of the most important questions have nothing to do with degrees, licenses, or credentials. Before you hire them, ask these 20 questions. Hey folks, I'm Valerie Zammitti of Zammitti Law. We're an estate planning practice in New York and New Jersey, and we help families plan for the what if scenarios while they still have choices. Today, we're going beyond estate planning. We're talking about the professional team that may help protect your family, finances, business, taxes, and future. Make no mistake, we're not suggesting you try to find that one professional who claims to do everything. In fact, that in itself can be a red flag. It's important to find qualified professionals who know their roles and know when your situation requires someone else. Now, what is a professional team? Depending on your family, the team may include a general or specialized attorney, an estate planning or elder law attorney, a financial advisor or financial planner, a CPA, enrolled agent or tax preparer, an insurance professional, a business attorney or business advisor, a real estate professional, a banker or lending professional, a care manager or healthcare advocate. You may not need all of these people today, but when you do need them, you don't want to start asking questions only after a crisis has occurred. So, are they actually qualified for your situation? Here's what you should be asking. Question 1. Are you properly licensed, credentialed, and in good standing? Don't rely solely on a professional looking website, social media popularity, letters from someone's name, and letters after someone's name, a referral from a friend, a title such as senior specialist or wealth expert. Ask, what does the credential actually mean? Who used it? Is continued education required? Is there a disciplinary process? Where can the license or credential be independently verified? Such as looking up attorneys online in their state. Now, there's an important nuance. A disclosed complaint or disciplinary matter does not automatically answer whether someone is right or wrong for you. But you should know about it, understand it, and hear the professional's explanation. The SEC directs consumers to review a financial firm's services, costs, conflicts, standard of conduct, and disciplinary history through forms CRS and official background tools. CFP Board also provides a verification tool for certifications and public disciplinary information. Now, question 2. Is this work a meaningful part of your actual practice? Such as, how frequently do you handle matters like mine? What percentage of your work involves this area? Is this a primary service or something you handle occasionally? When was the last time you handled a situation like this? Now, here's an estate planning example. Someone may be an excellent attorney, but have very little experience with trusts, Medicaid planning, estate taxation, and blended families or property in multiple states. A qualified professional is not necessarily qualified for every problem. Question 3. Do you regularly work with people whose circumstances resemble mine? Such as we just mentioned, blended families, parents of minor children, unmarried partners, same sex couples, business owners, rental property owners, families with special needs beneficiaries, people approaching retirement, families concerned with long term care, and multi state property owners. Ask for relevant experience without expecting the professional to disclose, of course, confidential client information. And question 4, what falls outside your expertise? This may be one of the most revealing questions. A strong professional should be comfortable saying, that isn't my area. We need another specialist. Your CPA should confirm the tax consequences. Your estate planning attorney should review that beneficiary designation. This requires an elder law analysis before you make a transfer. The right professional does not need to know everything. They need to know, what they don't know, and when to bring someone else in. Now, let's follow the money and define the work. Question 5, what exactly are you being hired to do? You need to ask for the scope of work in writing. What's included? What is excluded? What will you receive? What decisions remain your responsibility? What happens if the scope changes? Of course, for attorneys, we need to have a clear retainer agreement that should address these things, such as the scope, staffing, rates, conflicts, and communication expectations. And specifically, in estate planning, does the fee cover only preparing documents, or does it include deed work, trust funding guidance, beneficiary reviews, signings, follow up, and future maintenance? Question 6, who will actually perform the work? Am I hiring you personally or your firm? Who's my primary contact? What work will be handled by the attorneys, advisors, associates, or support staff? Who reviews the final result? Who steps in if my primary professional is unavailable? And there's a key distinction. Delegation is not automatically a problem. Unexplained delegation is. Question 7, how are you paid? And what will this cost in real dollars? Ask about flat fees or hourly fees, asset-based fees, commissions, product expenses, custodian or platform charges, filing or implementation fees, annual maintenance costs, termination or transfer charges. For a financial professional, don't settle for a percentage alone. Ask based on what I expect to invest, what would I pay during a typical year in dollars? Question 8, what financial incentives or conflicts could affect your recommendations? Ask, do you receive commissions? Do some products pay you more than others? Do you receive referral fees? Are you limited to certain companies or products? Do you benefit financially if I move assets, replace a policy, or choose one strategy over another? Will you put those conflicts in writing? And remember, a conflict does not always mean the recommendation is wrong, but an undisclosed conflict prevents you from evaluating the recommendation intelligently. So, what will working with that team actually feel like? Question 9, what professional standard applies when you advise me? Ask things like, are you required to act in my best interest? Does that obligation apply at all times or only to certain services? Will you confirm the applicable standard in writing? If your role changes during the relationship, how will I know? Using financial advisors as an example here, ask whether the person is acting as a broker, an investment advisor, or both, and when each role applies. There's a form that is designed to help consumers compare those services, fees, conflicts, and standards. Now, for a CPA or tax example, you should ask when you're hiring them, whether it's a CPA, enrolled agent, or otherwise, because their credentials and IRS representation rights are not the same. Question 10, how will you explain your recommendations and alternatives? Ask, why does this recommendation fit my goals? What alternatives did you consider? What are the disadvantages? What assumptions are you making? What could cause this plan to fail? And what happens if I do nothing? Good advice should survive reasonable questioning. A professional should be able to explain the strategy in language you understand without making you feel embarrassed for asking. Question 11, how will we communicate? Clarify, who is your regular contact? How quickly should you expect a response? What requires a meeting? What can be handled by email or through a secure portal? How will urgent matters be addressed? How will sensitive personal and financial information be protected? Will family members or other advisors be copied only with permission? Question 12. What happens if something goes wrong? Ask, who should I contact if I have a concern? How are errors corrected? How are disagreements escalated? Who supervises the professional? Is there a formal complaint or dispute process? What documentation will I receive? The best time to learn how a professional handles problems is before you have one. Now, will the relationship continue to deliver value? This section incorporates the long-term relationship questions you provided. Question 13, will this person be there to support me over the next few years? Ask, is this designed as an ongoing relationship or a single transaction? Will the professional remain available after the initial work is completed? Who helps if circumstances change? Will I know when I need to come back? Is support included or separately billed? While some work is transactional, your family's life is not. Question 14. Are they continuing to increase the value I receive? Value should not end when the documents are signed, the return is filed, or the account is opened. Ongoing value might include regular reviews, education, proactive updates, identifying new risks, coordinating with other advisors, adjusting to changes in your family finances or the law, helping you complete unfinished implementation. And you need to ask, what value should I reasonably expect from you in year 2, year 3, and beyond? Question 15. If they are setting long term goals, will they be around long enough to help carry them out? If someone is helping set long term goals for your family, finances, business, or professional practice, you should ask whether that person and the firm behind them will be around long enough to help see those goals through. Find out if there's a succession or continuation plan for that professional. What happens if the professional retires, becomes ill, or leaves the firm? Does another team member understand your situation? Who has access to the necessary records? Can the relationship transition without starting over? And there's an important nuance. We're not saying you should avoid a solo professional or a small firm. We're a small firm for now, and many people prefer to work with a smaller team. The important piece is to ensure that that professional, large firm or small, has planned for continuity. Question 16. What causes the plan to be reviewed or updated? Potential triggers could include marriage or divorce, births and deaths, inheritance, retirement, a major move, right? State to state does impact things. Business changes, property purchases, health changes, tax law adjustments, significant increases or decreases in wealth, and changes in family relationships. Ask whether reviews happen automatically at regular intervals, only when you initiate them, and is there an additional fee? Can they function as part of a team? Question 17. Will you collaborate with my other professionals? Ask, are you willing to speak with my attorney, CPA, financial advisor, or insurance professional? While authorization is required, is coordination included in the fee? Will you provide written recommendations the other professionals can review? And are you comfortable being questioned by another professional? This is important. A professional who protects their territory more than they protect the client may not be a team player. Question 18, we're almost there. Who is responsible for keeping the entire plan coordinated? This may be you, a family member, an estate planning attorney, financial advisor, a family office, which is similar to our Z Legacy program, another designated professional. And again, an important point, never assume one advisor is monitoring everything unless that responsibility has been clearly accepted. And examples of some common gaps include the trust exists, or a trust exists, but the assets were never properly aligned. The estate plan changed, but beneficiary designations did not. A business succession plan conflicts with the governing documents. An insurance recommendation was made without reviewing the estate plan. Or a tax strategy created legal or family consequences no one evaluated. Question 19. What happens when professionals disagree? Ask, who explains the disagreement to you? Will each professional document their reasoning? Who identifies the legal, tax, investment, and practical consequences? And who makes the final decision? Here's the point. A disagreement is not necessarily a red flag. Quietly making incompatible recommendations without coordinating it is. And our final question, question 20, what happens if I end the relationship? Before you hire someone, you want to know who owns the records, how do you obtain copies, are there termination or transfer fees, can accounts, policies, or files be transferred, who retains the original documents, will the professional cooperate with the successor, what ongoing services stop immediately, are there deadlines or consequences you must understand? And the bottom line is a healthy professional relationship should have a clear beginning, a clear scope, and a clear way to transition. Professionally specific, you want to make sure you know everything you need to know about the different areas that you're getting involved with, different professionals, such as an attorney. Make sure you know whether the attorney is licensed in the appropriate state, whether the attorney regularly handles your type of matter, who the attorney actually represents, what the engagement excludes, who will perform the work, and how fees may change. Now, consumers can verify in New York and New Jersey attorney registration, as I mentioned earlier, and it's publicly available, as well as any disciplinary information on them. Now, before hiring an estate planning attorney, make sure you know whether you are receiving documents or a complete planning process, who handles the deeds, titling, and trust funding, whether beneficiary designations will be reviewed, what happens after signing, how the plan is maintained, whether the firm assists the family after incapacity or death, and whether elder law, tax planning, or business planning requires another professional. When it comes to a financial advisor, you want to make sure you understand whether the person is acting as a broker, investment advisor, or both. When a best interest or fiduciary obligation applies, how every layer of compensation works, whether product choices are limited, who holds your assets, whether the advisor has discretion to trade, and what the advisor's regulatory history discloses about them in forms available publicly. Before hiring a CPA or tax professional, make sure you understand whether the person is a CPA, enrolled agent, or another type of preparer. Whether a paid preparer has a valid, what we call PTIN number. Whether the preparer will sign the return. Who can getting my tongue tied. Who can represent you during an audit, collection, or appeal. Whether the preparer will still be available after filing season, and how amended returns, notices, and audits are billed. The IRS warns against refund-based fees, unsigned or blanket returns, and preparers who will not remain available after filing. It also explains that attorneys, CPAs, and enrolled agents generally have broader representation rights before the IRS than other preparers. Now, before hiring an insurance professional, make sure you know whether the producer is properly licensed, which companies the producer represents, how commissions work, whether alternatives from other carriers were considered, which policy values are guaranteed and which are projections, what happens if you stop paying premiums, how often existing policies will be reviewed, whether the recommendation was coordinated with the estate and financial plans. Insurance license status and regulatory actions can be checked through state insurance departments and the National Producer Licensing System. In closing, finding the most impressive collection of professionals isn't the goal. You're looking for the right people in the right roles, communicating with one another, and continue to provide value as your life changes. Before you hire someone, ask the questions. Maybe not all of those, but at least the highlighted 15, 20 of them. Before you sign, understand the relationship. And before you assume your attorney, CPA, advisor, and insurance professional are working as a team, make sure someone has actually connected the pieces. Ask yourself, which of these questions have I never thought to ask my professionals? Let us know your comments. Your answer may help another family recognize an important gap. Be well.